customer portfolio management. Customer portfolio is an aggregated number of individual customers having different values, and it is used to better understand the needs. The results of customer portfolio analysis is richer customer interactions, better knowledge, and it aims at personalizing and targeting better value propositions to better meet customer expectations. So from product portfolio management to customer portfolio management. So customer portfolio management is coming from product portfolio management. And we have seen that marketing is evolving more and more from product-orientated management to customer-orientated management. So instead of using portfolio management metrics or grids, now we use rather customer portfolio management grids. You probably have seen this grid on this slide coming from a known product portfolio grid called Boston Consulting Group. So the philosophy of the Boston Consulting Group portfolio or BCG portfolio analysis is that there is a collection of businesses and products that make up the company. And in a portfolio analysis, in step 1, you analyze the current value of product portfolios and products. And in step 2, you shape the future product portfolios by analyzing the potential value of a business or strategic business unit, also called the SBU. You have the stars with high actual market share or high contribution and high future contributions. You have the question marks with low actual market share but high contributions. You have the cash cows with high market share, so low future contribution. And you have the dogs with low contribution and low future potential. So 4 segments. You see which are the products which are most interesting. So the most interesting products are the stars and the question marks. The stars because they bring you a lot of profits and they have a high probability to bring profits for the future. The question marks are actually do not bring a lot of contribution at the moment, but might bring in the future. So the potential is high. The cash cows bring a lot of cash flow or contribution now, but few contribution in the future. So the strategy would to harvest them in order to generate cash flow that you can invest into question marks in order to develop question marks into stars, because the stars are the best segments. And the dogs should be divested or abandoned because they do not bring any profit now, neither in the future. They do. So the strategy for dogs would be to disinvest. The strategy of stars and question marks would be to build and develop. The strategy for cash cows would be to harvest. These are product portfolio analysis, which are done to allocate resources according to the value of the segments. So this was used for a long time in product management. So the philosophy of this product portfolio analysis is the same for customer product portfolio analysis. A customer portfolio is actually a collection of clients that make up the company. So the idea is collect data about customers and you analyze data about customers so to see who are the best customers. And the questions of the portfolio analysis are the same as for product portfolio analysis. The idea behind that is how to maximize profits across various customer segments. So the idea is who are your best customers now, who are your best customers in the future, who are your bad customers that you should abandon, and who are the customers that you should harvest in order to invest the cash flow into better segments. The method is the same as we have just seen. You have to analyze, segment the current customer portfolio according to actual value, past contribution, and according to future contribution. So this is what we have seen in the course about KPI. For example, you can use the RFM measurement, recency, frequency, monetary amount, to segment the past value. The ideal way would be to use the CLV analysis. So because CLV, customer lifetime value, integrates the past value as well as the future. So the idea is to analyze and segment the current customer portfolio according to actual profit contribution or past profit contribution and according to future profit contributions. And in step 2, then you will shape the future customer portfolio in order to acquire valuable future customers, in order to develop your good clients, in other words, the dilemma and the stars, potential, and in order to abandon the dogs who have no future value and no actual value. Here is the profit contribution, low, high, and the potential, low and high. So there are 4 segments. The most interesting segment is the one of the stars, who have an actual high profit contribution and a high potential. So they bring you a lot of benefits at the moment and bring you a lot of benefits in the future. So the strategy for these customers should be a retention strategy in order to retain these customers because they are the stars. So a maximum of resources should be allocated to these customers. So you should invest. Second, you have the dilemmas or question marks. The dilemmas have a low profit contribution now, but will have a high potential of profit in the future. So the key target should also to be invest. So invest into these customers because they should become one day, if you manage well your CRM, these customers will become stars in the future. So the dilemmas are the future stars in the future. They are small now, but they might become big in the future. You have the cash cows who have a high contribution now, today, but a low potential in the future. So we have already achieved most with them. So the opportunities to increase benefits for cash cows are low. So the strategy is to harvest in order to invest the cash flow into the dilemmas, but also in the stars. So it's a resource allocation in favor of dilemmas and stars. So you won't invest a lot of money into those customers. The idea is to keep them because they bring you profits now, but you cannot develop them more. Therefore, the money they generate should be reinvested into dilemmas and stars. And finally, you have the dogs, which should be abandoned. So they have low profit contributions today and have low profit potentials in the future. So the only strategy for them would be to disinvest in order not to lose money, because these customers are not profitable. How do you create your portfolio? Yeah, by first acquiring prospects. So we have seen with the prospect database, you can, for example, a Facebook campaign, you might target a large number of customers, for example, 100,000 customers, but only 50% answer or click on your web link and come into your database. So you will have non-acquired customers, so we cannot do anything with them. But you will have, if you have an acquisition rate of 50%, 50,000 of customers who come into your database. These are the acquired customers. This is the acquisition rate. If you have done well your job by targeting, you have targeted only those customers who correspond well to your best customers. So you have a kind of picture, who are your best customers, customers having a given social demographic profile. Give you an example, if your best customers are business travelers, if you take the example of an airline, business travelers doing mainly long-haul flights, then you would try to acquire, for example, from American Express, customers who have Amex and who are doing mostly long-haul flights, because this corresponds to your picture of your best customers. This is kind of customer cloning. So you clone the customers, and now they're in the database. It starts after the acquisition process to start the retention process. So the idea is to develop these customers to develop higher customer profitability through longer relationships, but also through
basket development, so the customers buy more through frequency development. So now once they are in your portfolio, it is you have to do firm actions, marketing actions, customer actions individually to develop them. You have to counteract competitor actions, and you have to act differently according to customer characteristics. And so if you retake the example of the business traveler, if you want to develop customer profitability, it's a customer who has high potential. So you might offer him interesting offers to get upgrades to premium economy or to business class. Because if he takes business class, he will increase the services and the value for the customer, but you will also increase the basket or the value the customer is spending in your firm, in your airline. So you might suggest him better services, higher, better offers in higher classes, in premium classes, so that the customer purchases more, so the basket increases. You might offer him individualized offers by email to give incentives that he buys more in order to increase the purchase frequency. And you bring him into a loyalty program, a frequent flyer program, so that he can collect miles in order to lengthen the relationship. So now he's in the database. You can work individually on this customer with personalized actions in order to develop the relationship, in order to increase the basket, the frequencies, and so on. So all these indicators we have seen in the course about KPIs. And all this aims at customer development. The loyalty program aims at retention or loyalty. The service increase of service you offer aims at increasing the retention process. And all this has the final aim to increase customer profitability. That is the profit generated by customers. So this is how schematically a customer portfolio should be managed. So the customer comes into the base, and then you decide individually how to stimulate him in order to increase profitability. If, for example, the customer do not react to your campaign to an upgrade to a business class, then he might not be a very big customer. So in that case, you should reduce the expenditures, reduce the cost, in order to increase profitability. So if you can keep stable the revenues for these customers, but if you decrease the cost, then you also can increase customer profitability, because revenue minus cost is the profitability. And so it means that you have individually decide, according to the customer characteristics, which customer actions you will deploy, which tools will be used, which products or services should be offered. All this should be done on the individual basis. And I recall you, customer relationship management is about doing individual marketing, one-to-one marketing, and not mass marketing. So this is the main difference. And so you should decide about acquisition in order to clone your best customers, to acquire the best customers, to make them your new future best customers. Acquisition strategy, you have to attract your customers. As we have just seen, the market decisions are to target customers based on the model of existing best customers. So as we have seen, if your best customers are business travelers, you have to acquire business travelers. And then with scoring, you can see which are the best customers in the future. It's a kind of regression model showing you how customers might behave in the future. To recruit them, the product decisions are mainly based on price and product offers. So it's important to develop an attractive brand. And mostly customers are recruited with price actions, because in the beginning of the relationship, price is the most determined marketing factor. But also an attractive brand and product. And you can give price reductions or incentives or promotions to add initial value to the customer. This is in order to acquire customers. The second step, you should keep the existing customers. And your decisions are then, you have to segment them by customer lifetime value in order to retain the best customers. And you should develop differentiated relationship marketings, so more deeper relationships with best customers, less deep relationships with better customers, in order to retain customers with higher quality service, and in order to develop tailor-made or personalized product service offerings, and in order to also cross and upsell to customers, that is, sell related products, and upsell means sell higher value products. For example, if you offer to a economy traveler the opportunity to get an upgrade to premium economy or to business class, this would be an upsell, because the customer will spend more money, would increase the basket, and this means upsell. Your portfolio should be healthy in terms of acquisition and retention. As we've seen, you have always churn rates. So this is like a bucket. So your portfolio is like a bucket with water. There might be a hole in the bucket, because you always lose customers. So there are always churn or defection rates. This means that in terms of marketing, you should proceed to acquisition in order always to win new customers. This is what you can see in the upper part of this bucket. So there should always water coming into the bucket in order to replace customers that you lose, who become defective. And you should try to close the hole by doing defensive marketing or customer retention marketing, for example, through loyalty actions, loyalty programs. A portfolio should focus on customer retention, but also on customer acquisition. This is a customer portfolio analysis based on customer life cycles. So it integrates, by the way, potential. Here in this segment, mostly are new customers. Cash cows are mostly older customers. And stars are customers in the medium stage. So this is what you can see here. Stars are basically based here, decreasing the cycle of revenues they generate. Dilemmas or question marks are in the beginning of the relationship, so in the below part of this framework. And cash cows are based here, so you can see there's basically no opportunity to increase CLV anymore or revenues anymore, so they're at the end of this life cycle. So we've seen when we talked about KPI metrics, so the segmentation according to life cycle makes sense, because then you can see the potential of your customers. And so if we come back to the slide, how can you determine this potential here? You can determine it by segmenting your portfolio according to socio-demographic values. So let me give you an example. For example, beginning of the relationship, so you are young customers, small customers for the bank, because you don't maintain a lot of products within the product portfolio of the bank. So the bank might decide to keep you or to do retention development, because you are now in a bachelor degree and in 2 years you will have finished and you will become young professionals. And then you will become interested. The idea is if they don't invest into you now, you won't become stars and they will lose you. So the idea is to invest money into you now, even if you don't contribute a lot in terms of benefits. So that is why retention strategy should be done in order to make you loyal. So generally, they won't really meet you in terms of operational CRM. They will try to keep you by mailings or emails in order to make you loyal, in order to offer you some advantages so that you stay in the bank. But the next step is in 2 years when you start work, you will become interested, because you will invest money, you will have more revenues than costs. So you might take more products in the bank, for example, a life insurance. You might take a loan in order to finance a flat if you want to buy a flat. So you will become interesting for the bank, and you will take different financial products in the bank. The bank can do cross-selling with you or upselling. So you can see your revenues start, or the benefits for the bank also increase. So you become, you will switch from the dilemma into a star position. And the more you will evolve in your career, the more you will become professionals with strong potential. So the idea is to develop you with different financial products by email, but also with a personal visit with a bank advisor. Here it becomes very important physical presence strategy to meet you, to establish a relationship. When we talk about relationship marketing, this means that you will meet at least once or 2 times a year the bank advisor who gives you personalized advice in terms of finance. So because you become interesting target, so you become a star. So the bank will invest money into you or allocate resources into you in order to make you buy even more. And as your life cycles change, so you get married, you will get children, so you will buy a house or a bigger apartment. So again, you need the help of the bank in terms of loans, credits, and so on. So you become interesting. So it is important to retain you now. So the strategy is really switching from development to retention in order to make development through, for example, loyalty programs, but also regular visits and regular meetings with the bank in order to make you loyal. Once you're a star, you are the treasure of the bank, so you should be absolutely retained as customers. So that will be a privileged relationship, privileged resource allocation to those customers having a high CLV. And then with the time, once it might become difficult to increase the revenues. These are actually then the cash cows here, because you have already a lot of financial products. You come to close to the retirement, so it's difficult to make you invest more money. So it should be decided either to reactivate you, but it appears to be difficult. So the customer degenerates, becomes progressively a dog. So the strategy should be Salesforce automation with email, SMS in order to decrease costs and in order to progressively abandon this client who is not profitable. This is the idea. The potential can be approximated through customer life cycle analysis. Customers go through different life cycles. Life cycles are associated with different revenue streams, and as you're in the beginning of a life cycle, it is important to decide at every step. It's important to decide if you keep a customer or not. So this decision, abandon or reactivation, means that you have to analyze always the revenues and the cost. If the revenues are higher than the cost, then the development should be done. If the costs are higher than the revenues, then it should be seen if it's interesting to maintain the customers or not. If the customer has potential, he should be maintained. If the customer has no potential, you might degenerate the relationship and abandon the customer very quick. This means that you will allocate different resources according to different customers. So your best customers having highest value, these are actually your stars. You should allocate most of your resources. The B customers are those having medium value, so you should allocate medium amounts of resources. And the C, or the baddest customers, have the lowest value, so you should decrease the resource allocations and automatize the relation. Here it would be physical meetings with the customer, a privileged relationship with customers. Here it would mean that you would practice Salesforce automation through SMS marketing or through mobile marketing, automatized chatbots. All this would be done here. Whereas here in tier A, it means that you have really human personal relationships. Relationship marketing or loyalty marketing makes not sense in all sectors. It makes sense in sectors, as you can see on the right side of this grid, where the retention costs are high and the acquisition costs are high. For example, you remember lost for good markets, or contractual markets, or markets where the cost of acquisition of customers are high. There it really makes sense to establish relationship or loyalty. It means that you base really your marketing on long-term relationships, personalized relationships, bring a lot of money. These are mainly markets where the perceived risks are high. So for example, banks, telecommunication, computers, cars, real estate, and so if you buy a house, and so the higher the perceived risk, the higher the price of the product, the more it makes sense to establish a relationship or base customer relationship management. Because the cost of acquisition are high, so it makes more sense to make customers loyal if the acquisition costs are high. Because if you lose them, they are lost for good, and then it might become difficult for the brand to win new customers. On the other hand, in retail, these are always the share markets, or even worse, you have some markets where you do one-shot marketing. The acquisition costs are low, which means that does not make sense to develop relationship. Because if the acquisition costs are low, then it's easy to win new customers when you use them. So why should you invest a lot of money and a lot of resources to customers who have low costs to win them back? The example of Altaria Edition Atlas, it's a French firm, or also in mail order business. There are some transactions that are even profitable if you do it in a one shot. For example, you have some kinds of magazines that you can buy in bookstores. The first edition is generally has a low price, and you get a small gift. The second two, so generally customers buy only 1, 2, or 3 editions, and this means that they are also profitable even on the short term, because it's very easy in these markets to win customers. Retention marketing does not make any sense, and it is similar in the grocery retail, because actually the acquisition cost for customers in grocery retail are very low, because customers buy mostly due to proximity, geographical proximity. And so in these contexts, traditional transactional marketing might be still relevant. You should always decide according to the sector you're acting in if it makes sense to establish CRM or not, because CRM is very expensive. And so in markets with high acquisition costs, CRM makes sense. In markets with low acquisition costs, CRM does not really make sense. To conclude about that, customer portfolio analysis is based on marketing databases that collect data in order to analyze customers and to classify them into different groups to implement different marketing programs effectively. Assessing customer value is critical for customer portfolio management. So we have seen, so it's important to calculate the actual customer value, but also the potential customer value. Customer portfolio management's goal is to optimize the current and the future value, so the value of the customers now and the value of the customers in the future, based on customer life cycles. And they use different measures of customer values, so mainly CLV, to prioritize their customers and to differentially invest in them, in order to invest into customers with high actual value and high potential value. Please invest into customers having low actual value and low future value.